Hello. Your mind is a powerful place, filled with thoughts and dreams alongside doubts and fears. However, you need to train it to think rationally during times of high stress and uncertainty. I really appreciate this opportunity of getting up on stage alongside these fantastic speakers and sharing my ideas. Today I'm going to talk to you about resilience and why we need it now more than ever. Resilience is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. And now I'd like to remind you that although it is okay to feel frustrated and upset in life, how you deal with your circumstance, your bounce back, is important. Not dealing with your emotions can lead to long-term distress, which can affect your mental health and can even change your perspective in life by making you feel like you can't do anything or you're just not good enough. So I'd like to encourage us all today by going through 3 points about building resilience and its effects. Number 1, understand what you are going through. Number 2, build up resilience. And number 3, maintain a healthy mindset because no condition is permanent. So understand what you are going through. I went to Loughborough University as an undergrad in October 2015. However, just 3 months into my course, I started to panic and doubt myself. I was surrounded by others yet felt so alone and overwhelmed with being at university. I didn't understand I was dealing with anxiety, so I didn't understand what I was going through. I hesitated and planned on leaving university for good because I couldn't keep up with the multiple demands I put on myself. During a conversation I had with my personal tutor, he suggested I should seek counselling for my anxiety. And although I was reluctant due to the stigma of receiving help, I also felt like I had no other choice and I needed to talk to someone. After a few counselling sessions, I was reassured that I just needed to breathe and take steps in understanding my circumstance. And I used this technique throughout the rest of my university life before finally graduating last year, July. I then started work as a project coordinator at TEDxUoChester, which is an applied theatre company here on this campus. During my research for mental health within youth, I discovered I was not the only student who felt overwhelmed or who planned on leaving university for good. In fact, BBC News and The Guardian reported that around 15,000 first-year students disclosed suffering from mental health issues in 2015. And statistics published by the Higher Education Statistics Agency stated that around 26,000 students dropped out of university before reaching their 2nd or 3rd year. We as a generation need to build resilience. Number 2, before building a house, you have to lay the foundations. And as we all know, good foundations means a strong house. By 2020, the government is pushing to release a compulsory mental health initiative implemented throughout schools in the UK in hopes of dealing with the mental health crisis. Starting in schools allows us to lay these foundations into the next generation. But how do we implement these foundations into ourselves? How do we remain calm when we feel that all has fallen apart? Some of you here may be dealing with temporary situations at home, but for others of you, could be more permanent. How do you want to deal with it? Are you going to be upset and angry with yourself for feeling the way you do, for the circumstance you're in? Are you going to be upset and angry with those around you, those who may have hurt you? Or are you simply going to block it all out, pretend it doesn't exist, maybe using unhealthy coping mechanisms? Don't. During a dark time in my 2nd year, I was dealing with depression, so I didn't care about anything. And I was also dealing with anxiety, so I cared about too much. I also wasn't getting along with my housemates and was even failing in some of my modules. And one Sunday afternoon, for no reason whatsoever, I got up, left the house and started running. I wasn't in gym wear. I just literally left the house. I didn't know where I was going, didn't know what I was doing. I couldn't really think straight. And although I've known myself to be fairly dramatic at times, this was definitely pushing it for me. But when we live in the age of social media, there is so much pressure to be perfect and to succeed in all areas of our lives. And there isn't much space to just reflect. However, looking back, I realised it was all a matter of time that we would be in a different situation, that I would be facing different circumstances. And I cannot literally run away from all my issues because as I learnt, they'll be there when I get back. We can train our minds how to react in these circumstances. We can act, A-C-T. A is for active. Make active and proactive decisions to reduce the moods you are in and the moods you get into. Talk to someone. Go for a walk. However, you need to change your perspective in order to adjust to your circumstance. C is for circumstance. Avoid looking at your circumstance from an unhealthy and negative viewpoint. You only hold yourself back when you reiterate how bad everything is. And like me, you realize it was all a matter of time. T is for time. It takes time to heal from the situations you go through and you're dealing with. But whilst you're there, you might as well get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because this may not be the last time you find yourself in an undesirable situation or you don't feel like yourself. For me, it was last year. I was waiting to hear back from university around this time about doing a master's in drama therapy. This is something I'd set my heart on doing since year 9. I was so excited about doing, as it combined both my passions and my talents, and it'd be a struggle to find the same. However, just before graduation, my passions for my dream job faded, and I knew I couldn't put myself through another year or 2 at university for the sake of it at that time, due to how my mental health was. I'm a fairly organised person, so not knowing where I was going or who I was going to be stressed me out so much. So I graduated and then cried. Roughly 2 months later, I landed the project coordinator role, which gave me the research for this talk. However, the trials I went through at university put me on this stage. A flashback to that dark time in second year, where I didn't feel like myself. I became angry and hurt by the police brutality that was happening in America, and the subtle ones we don't hear about here in the UK, including the rise in male suicides over the past number of years. With that anger stirred up passion to reach out to those within my university that didn't speak up when they need to. So I created an event called Courage, aimed at male ethnic minorities to speak up about the issues they face and how they feel in general. The event took place during my third year, but it was my emotions in second year that created Courage. By channeling my emotions, I was able to create an event that helped those around me. And I never would have been able to do that if it wasn't for the situations life put me in, or how my university experience was, including meeting people that have been through similar situations I have, or felt the way I have. This talk isn't based on the fact that I have resilience, but because I lacked so much of it, I almost became a part of that 26,000 that didn't make it to the end of uni. And it made me understand the importance of not only breaking the stigma of poor mental health, but being proactive in taking control. I can't tell you a personal story of how to master resilience, but one of my friends, who's an only child, lost her mother to cancer during her A-levels. Her father then emotionally detached himself from her before selling her childhood house, and she was left basically figuring out what to do. Within the following year or so, she completed her A-levels, got herself a job, a car, and an apartment. There were times when she cried, times when she felt so frustrated with her situation, but not once did she stop moving, and not once did I see this girl withdraw from her emotions. She couldn't change what was going on in her life, but she changed how she felt about it, and with that, altered her mind into making life better for herself. Resilience doesn't reduce the amount of issues we may face, but gives us the opportunity to rise and to just see hope. Building up resilience takes time and a bit of patience, but it starts with you. Accept that in your relationships, in your future career, wherever you may end up, there will always be ups and downs, as it is inevitable. But you need to accept this in order to maintain a healthy mindset and keep moving, because no condition is permanent, which is point number 3. Get to know yourself. Find ways to feel inspired when you feel low. Get to know your true likes and your dislikes. Accept that you've made a mistake and let it go. Because when you're frustrated with yourself, you need to remember there's so many good things about yourself and in your life that you can celebrate. During an appointment I had with my doctor at university, she said, I need to celebrate the small stuff. When I feel depressed, anxious, and even times when I'm feeling okay, just as practice. She said, when you get out of bed, be proud of yourself. When you put clothes on, jump into the shower, even just to jump back into bed, cheer yourself on. And that is sometimes how you have to get through life. Small enough to not be overwhelmed, but big enough to make a move. Some of you in this room are probably facing battles that only you know about. Others of you are probably sailing through life. What I want you to all take away from this is that you all need to be proud of yourselves for being here today, as many didn't make it. You all have some major decisions to make over the next few months, years, I'm sure, about university, but don't stop there. Make decisions in how you want to personally overcome adversity in all areas of your life. Resilience isn't just for now, but throughout your future decisions and circumstance. Today, the theme is about the future. But that doesn't matter until our generation learns to fight for it. Thank you all for listening to my TED Talk.